In the last class, we seen okay. So how to install Oracle database software, then how to create the database, then how to connect the database. What are the methods are there to connect the database? So we seen command line mode SQL plus by using SQL plus to connect the database. We seen GA method, that is SQL developer or Toad. So SQL developer, we have to install SQL developer in our local environment on top of Windows operating system. So we have to make connection first. Once configure the connection, then we can connect the database via SQL developer. Okay, so we created multiple databases. Means last time we created a second database as well. That database as well we configured in the SQL developer, and we connect the database via SQL developer. The both the database, whatever the database existing in the Linux server. So for all the database, we can connect from anywhere. So to connect the database remotely, so what is the mandatory in the database side? In the database server side, there should be listener should be up and running. Listener, so there is a listener background process, there is a listener service, it should be up and running at database server side. Okay, so if database server side the listener is up and running, we can connect from anywhere. Means remotely we can connect the database if the listener is up and running. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so whenever you start the database, whenever you start the Linux server, you have to start the database services as well. Once start the all the database services, so there are two types of database are there. One is container database. Second, pluggable database. Okay, so we'll discuss in detail coming sections. So nowadays all are using a multi-tenant database. If it is multi-tenant database, there is one container database is there. One container database is there. So n number of PDBs are there. Almost 250 PDBs we can create. So as of now, we created there is a one container database is there. There is a one pluggable database we created. So when you start the database, yes, the database services started. So once the database services started, how you can verify the database service are running or not? There is a ps-ef grep pman. By using at OS level, by using this command, we can verify the database service is running or not. If the database service are running, yes, what do we need to verify next? The listener should be up and running. The listener should be up and running. How to verify the listener is up and running or not? What is the utility which we can use to start and stop the listener or check the listener status? LSNR-CTL. This is the utility. The entire, if it is Oracle database, if you want to check the listener status, if you want to start the listener, if you want to stop the listener, if you want to reload the listener, we have to use, this is the utility, LSNR-CTL status. To check the listener status, to stop the listener, you can say, to check the listener status. So if you want to start the listener, yes, you have to instead of status, you can keep start. If you want to stop the listener, instead of status, you can keep stop. If you want to restart, yes. If you want to reload, yes. Whenever, so if you made any changes in the listener configuration file, listener parameter file, you have to reload the listener, or you can stop and start the listener so that the whatever the changes, it will be reflected. So let me connect my database server. Okay, so let me click on show. Yes, root. You can log in with any user, Linux machine. In general, you can all are login with our own usernames. After login with your own username, you have to switch to Oracle user because we installed Oracle database, we configured database with Oracle user, not other user. Let me take IP address and connect putty if config to get the IP address. This is my IP address 113. Let me connect putty. Yes, 192.168.0.113. Root Oracle. Yes, I log in with the putty with root user. Even though if you log in with your own user, you have to switch to Oracle user because we used a configured Oracle database, used Oracle user. So we have to switch to Oracle user. Yes, now I am in the Oracle user. You can say ID Oracle. Now you can say, so how to verify? Just now started mission. If you stop the Linux server, what are the services running on the Linux server? All the services first it will stop. Once stopped all the services, whatever it could be. It could be Postgres, it could be Oracle database, it could be MySQL. All the services it will be stopped. Then stop the Linux services. So now I started Linux server, not database services. Just started mission. How you can start? Just start. So Linux server has started. The mission is started. Now I log in with root user. I switch to Oracle user. Always we have to switch to Oracle user if it is Oracle database. So how to verify my database service are running or not? PS minus EFA pipe symbol grep pmon. If you get only one line means there is no services are running. Now I need to understand, is there any database are created on this server? If it is database are created, what is the database ID? What is the database home? How to know this database ID, database home location? There is a file cat/etc or a tab file. So inside this file, to see the file data, you have to use cat. Where the file is located under /it there is a Aura tab file is there. So you can say there is a two database are created in this server. By seeing this file information, we can understand easily there are two database are created. HRMS, the home location could be user one app Oracle product 90 DB home. Next, the other database also created. The database name CRSMS. This is the same location. So what is the N? Means N means whenever the Linux server is restarted, if the database services automatically started, whenever the Linux server rebooted, the database service also automatically, if it is started, here it could be Y. Y means automatically services are started. No, N means the services are not started automatically. You have to start the services manually after starting Linux server. Yes, now the Linux server is started. I log into server. Yes, I need to start the services manually. How to start the database services manually? First, we have to, before starting the database services, you have to set the database SID and DB home location. How to set the DB ID and DB home location? There is a utility Ora env. You have to set up Oracle environment. Which database environment you have to set up? I want to start the HRMS DB services. So when I call this utility, it's asking which database environment you want to set. I want to connect my HRMS database. So before that, I need to set up the HRMS environment. So you have to give DB name HRMS. So when you give this DB name, I given the DB name, please set this DB name. So when you give this DB name, it's automatically set the Oracle home location as well. What is the home location of this DB? This is the home location. So now it set a DB ID and a home location. How to confirm the database ID, HRMS, the database home location? This is the home location it said by using environment variables. Echo. How to print the variable value? There is a echo command we have to use. How to call the variable? Dollar variable name. So dollar Oracle home. Can say yes.
the variable, it hold this value means it set the home location automatically. This is my home location. So how to check the SID Oracle underscore SID? Yes, my DB name, my home, the database name, HRMS, the respect to home location, it's set automatically. Now ready to connect this database. If it is not running, you can start the database. If it is running, you can connect the database. You can perform your whatever you want to. Now my database is not running. So if it is not running, you can connect the database. You can start the database. So how to connect the database? There is a utility SQL plus sysdba. Can say if it is not running, it printing connected to an ideal instance. The instance is not running, it's not live, it's connected, it's currently idle, means it's not running. So when you use this, when you fire this command, if you see this line means HRMS instance is not running currently, it's idle state. If you want to, you can start the services. How to start the services? Startup. By using this command, we can start the database service. Which database service is going to start? I connected HRMS. By calling Aura env, I given HRMS. So it's set the environment for HRMS database environment only. You can say database opened. When you see this line, successfully database services are started. After startup, after execute this command, no need to cancel. You have to wait. Based on the system configuration, it takes time. Less than just less than minute only. So now you can say, so now the database service are started. So now you can show PDBS, pluggable databases. So you can say this is the default pluggable database, the PDB $seed system data, it's there. HRMS PDB, we created one PDB, that PDB name is HRMS PDB1. It's not database, not open state, it's in mount state. Okay, so if you want to connect this database, you have to, the database should be open read write mode, but it's not in read write mode, it's not in read only mode, it's a mounted state, means we cannot connect this specific PDB. This is the PDB. What is our DB name? At SQL, at DB level, if you want to run the any OS level command, you can use like this: ps minus efa grep pman shift 1. Without shift 1, if you run the OS level command at DB level, it throws the error. You can say unknown command. If you want to execute OS level command at DB prompt, SQL prompt, you have to use shift 1, then run the OS level command. Grep pman. Yes. Which database? HRMS. The DB name is HRMS, but our pluggable database name is HRMS PDB1. Don't confuse. Under one database, we can create n number of PDBS. There is a limit is there, mostly some 250 something, the count exactly. We can create like this, n number of pluggable databases. Currently, this is the mount state. Whenever you reboot database services, the PDBs database open in mount state. That is the default behavior. If it is mount state, means we cannot connect this database. Whenever I reboot the database services, the HRMS database services, pluggable database service also, it should be open in read write mode. How to do that? By default, it's open in mount mode. By default, it open in mount mode. I want to, whenever my database service are restarted, whenever my Linux server is restarted. So let me shut down. How to shut down? Shut immediate. Let it shut down the services. So the same HRMS database services, I am going to shut down the database services, not server. Going to shut down the HRMS DB services. For shutdown, we have to use shut immediate. For startup, you can use startup command. let it shut down. Can say Oracle instance shutdown. So now you can verify shift 1 ps minus CFA grep pmon. Sorry. PS minus AFA grep pmon. Can say there is nothing is there. There is no HRMS instance. Now the HRMS database services are down state. Now if you want to again start the services, startup. Yes, startup. It's going to again start the DB service. That means whenever you start and stop the services, the respect to pluggable database, whatever the pluggable database inside this HRMS, all the pluggable database open in mount state. Open in mount state, it's not read write, it should be read write mode. I want to open the database pluggable, whenever I start the database services, by default, I want to open the pluggable database in read write mode. How to do that? Clear? Then say when we start up the CDB container database, the PDBs will be open in mount state. If it is mount state, we cannot connect that pluggable database. It should be open in read write mode. So every time we need to open the pluggable database in read write mode manually if you want to. How to open this database read write mode? Alter the database. Alter pluggable database. Alter pluggable database. What is our database name? Pluggable database name open. It's open pluggable database in read write mode. You can say show PDBS. Now it's read write mode. Now you can connect this PDB. You can create run the operations insert, update, delete. This database open in read write mode means what are the read operations? SQL only select. What are the write operations? Insert, update, delete. Means any type of operations we can perform, we can connect this database because this database open in read write mode. So again, if you want to shut down the database, let me shut immediate. After shutdown and after start up the database services, again this database service will be open in mount state only because that is the default behavior. I want to overcome that default behavior. Whenever start up my container database, all the pluggable database open should be open in read write mode. How to do that? Let's see. Again, let me start up the DB services. Now you can check show PDBS. It gives the all the pluggable database and its status. Show PDBS. You can say again it's open in mount state. Again, if you want to open this database open mode means alter. You can run this statement. Alter pluggable database. Alter pluggable database. It's not a normal database. It's a pluggable database. You can plug and play. If you want to, you can remove this database. You can unplug. Unplug means you can delete the database. So alter pluggable database, plug up PDB name, open. Open means it's open read write mode. So after shutdown and startup, again start up the database services. Again the same PDB. Suppose if you have 10 PDBs are there, 10 pluggable database are there inside this database. All the PDBs will be open in mount state only. If it is mount state, we cannot connect, we cannot run any statement, even shell statement also, it throws the error because database not open state. Like that, it can throw the error. So now let's say, so whenever restart the DB services, all the pluggable database open in, by default, it should be open read write mode. How to do that? Can say the same example startup. It's open. If you want to manual, yes, this is the statement. Open the data pluggable database read write mode. So I want to whenever restart the database services, it should be open read write mode. So then you have to save the database state. In this, now my pluggable database open in read write mode. In this position, if you save the state, if you save the position, my database open in read write mode. In this position, if you save the database state, database position, whenever you restart the database services, before restarting, I already saved my database position. So it will be open in read write mode only. How to save the database position? You can run alter pluggable database save state. I'm going to save the database position right now. My database open in pluggable database. If you save this state, this position by using this command, that means our pluggable database position is going to saving. So whenever restart the database services, this database always open in read write mode. If you save this database pluggable database position, where we can see there is a view DBA underscore PDB underscore saved states. It gives the what are the database we saved, the database name, state open. After if you remove this position, what are the saved position if you remove? Yes, we can remove. Alter pluggable database, database name, discard state. When you execute this statement, what are the saved state, saved position? It's remove the position. Again, it will open the mount state. Clear? Any queries from anyone? Okay, now I am going to save the pluggable database, alter pluggable database, our database name, save state. Okay, let me, before saving state, if you see the, what is there any pluggable database state is saved? No, nothing is there. There is no rows from this view. This is the system table. It gives the information if any pluggable database positions saved. Right now, there is no pluggable database states are saved. Now I am going to save the my pluggable database position, save state. Can say. Now can say. Now my pluggable database mounted state. It will be save the mount position only. Let me see. Let me check the. Yes, there is no loss. Because if your pluggable database open in read write mode, then only it can save the state. Because mount mode, there is no use mount mode. If it is open state, yes, we can connect the database, we can run any statements. So let me open the database first, alter pluggable database, open. Let me open the my database read write mode, then I can save the state. Now I can say show PDBS. My database open in read write mode. Now in this position, I am going to save my pluggable database position. How to save? Alter pluggable database name, save state. Can say yes. Now you can check the any rows inserted in this system table. Yes, there is a one pluggable database. It's saved position, open position. Now you can exit. Now sorry, let me connect the database. Now you can shut down the database. Show PDBS. Now pluggable database read write mode. If you let me shut down, immediate, shut immediate. After restarting my database services, all the pluggable database open mode only. It will be open in read write mode only because before that I saved my pluggable database position state. After open the database, I save the state. Where I can see the save position DBA underscore PDB underscore saved state. Let's see startup. Again means shutdown and startup. My database services are stopped and started. Now let's see my pluggable database open in read mount state or read write mode. It should be open in read write mode only. Why? Before that we saved the position pluggable database position. So always it will open for read write mode only. Clear? How to remove this? I saved this position. I want to remove this saved position. How to remove? Same alter pluggable database, database name, discard state. Let me do that. Alter pluggable database, database name, discard state. Now can say the what are the saved position, it's removed. Now if you restart the DB services, again my database open in mount state only. To overcome that, you have to save the PDB state. You can open the PDB in read write mode, then save the state. Alter pluggable database, database name, save state. To remove the saved position, you can use this statement. So where we can see this saved position, system table DB underscore PDB underscore saved states. There is no rows means there is no pluggable database, positions are saved. Now can see show PDBS. Read write mode, but we haven't saved this database position. If you shut down right now, it will after again start up the pluggable database open in mount state only. Let it shut down and start up. Meanwhile, if you have any queries, let me know. Because this is very, very important. So that's why, okay. Whenever connect the database, the pluggable data, all the database should be open in read write mode only, except the default database, except this DB. This DB always open in read only mode. Means this database contains system metadata. It's not, we are no need to connect this DB. This is our database. If you want to store the data inside this PDB, you can connect. How you can store the data? You have to connect this pluggable DB. You can create the table. You can insert the data. If it is mount state, how can connect the database? How can create a table? How can insert the data? We cannot. So that's why whatever the pluggable database, it should be open in read write mode. Now can say startup. By default, it's open in mount state. To overcome that, you can save the pluggable database, save the position after open the read write mode, so that it will save the position. When now restart the DB services, it's open in read write mode only. Now you can say show PDBS. It open mount state. Yes, because I remove the saved position, discard state. So this is about okay. How we can open the pluggable database? Default read write mode only. Any queries from anyone? That's about this document. Okay, so just go to, we need to open the manually using alter pluggable database open. To make the PDBs open automatically, we can use the saved state option. By default, how many pluggable database are there? All the PDBs, if you want to open automatically, whenever the database service are restarted, we have to use this saved state option. Okay, you have to save that PDB position. Then it can save the inside the there is a system table DB underscore PDB underscore saved state. There we can see how many pluggable database states are saved in the table. If there is no rows means nothing will be saved. Again, after restarting, the PDBs will be open in mount state only. Any queries from anyone? Okay. So, okay. So, next. How the connections are established to Oracle database? How the, when you give SQL plus slash sysdba, there is a SQL plus utility which we can use to connect the database. If you give SQL plus backend, what is happening in the database? The Postgres also same. When you give PSQL, what is happening in the backend? There is some internal mechanism is there to open a connection, to get a connection, database connection. There is some internal, some background process. They help you. The internal mechanism is there. It's automatically take care of everything and it give you after establish the connection. Then you can whatever you want to you can perform your operations. So what is the mechanism happening in the backend? So let's see. Okay, let me go to Paint. Just we'll discuss how the connections are established to Oracle database. What is the things happening in the backend? Okay, next class we'll see in depth. Today, just how can the connections are established in Oracle database. Okay, this is my application. From application, different users they can connect. Okay, so multiple users from application they can establish the connection to the Oracle database. What are the database? This is for application. Application. Yes, you can see this is my application. Yeah. So this is for user one. User one is trying to connect the database. This is for user two. Yes, this is for user three. User three. This is for user four. So these all a number of users they can trying to establish the connection to database. So sorry, this is my database server. Okay, so this is my database. This is my Linux server. Inside the Linux, I installed database. I created a database. So suppose my database name is HRMS. So the same database we created. So inside this database, HRMS database, there are pluggable database are there. Suppose HRMS PDB1, HRMS PDB2. Like that, we may have n number of PDBS. HRMS PDB1. This is my first pluggable database. The second pluggable database, HRMS. Like this, you can create. We'll see in the next class. Coming classes, we can create n number of pluggable database. HRMS PDB2. These are my pluggable databases. HRMS is my database name. What is our database name? HRMS. These two are the pluggable databases. HRMS PDB1. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Whenever the user, how the users are establish the connection, what are the client tools they can use? What are the client tools? Tell me. What are the client tools in Oracle? Yes. SQL plus.
SQL plus
use
SQL developer.
SQL plus or
SQL developer.
SQL developer or
Toad.
So any one of these client tools they have to use to establish the connection. If you want to establish the connection, if you want to connect the database, Oracle. So what are the client tool you have to use? Any one of the tool, at least any one of the tool. Either SQL plus, either SQL developer or Toad. Toad also like similar SQL developer we'll see in the next class. Most of the guys they are using SQL developer. So it have more options there stored. So some projects they are using Toad also. The same how the configure SQL developer the same way we can use Toad also. So by using any one of the tool, by using any one of the client tool, they can try to establish the connection. Suppose if we use SQL developer, after giving all the details, what are the details we need to get a connection? Host name, yes or no? What are the details we required? Host name,
Port.
port number, yes.
Username.
Username, yes. Password, yes. DB name. So from any client tool, GI tool, if it is command line, directly just SQL plus, directly it's connected. From any GI tool, either Toad or SQL developer or PG admin for Postgres, we require these details. What is your host name? What is a host name means? Where your database is running. My database is running on Linux. What is your Linux host name? Suppose Oracle 9tc2.oracle.com. This is my host name. Yes, this is my host name, the same host name I used. Can say this is my host name. What is our port number? Yes, if it is Oracle, default port we are using. What is your username? Suppose ABC. I used my own user. Sys is there. It's a super user. Sys is the super user. As a if you are Oracle DBA, you can use Sys user. I am an application guy. I am an application user, application developer. So as a Oracle DBA, I can create a user in Oracle database. We can share the username password to application developer. Suppose I am a developer, so I get the username password. These are all the details from Oracle DBA. My username is ABC. What is your password? Yes, same ABC. Which database I want to connect my application using? There is a database HRMS. Yes, I have all the details. By using these all the details, you can enter the details into SQL developer. Then there is an option connect. If you click on connect after entering these all the details, after entering all the details, you have to SID name also. SID or service name. Yes or no? Service name. The DB name. Okay. DB name or SID or service name. DB name means it's SID only. HRMS. So after give these details, there is a button connect. When you click on connect, what is happening in the backend? So these details, this is the connection. So these all are incoming connections. How many incoming connections are there? 4 users, 4 connections are trying to establish the connection. So these connections, who received this connection in the database server? This is my application server. This is my application server. Yes. This is my application server. This is my database server. This is my database server. 2 are different servers. Application server is running on maybe Windows. My database server always running on Linux platform only, because all the database will be running on Linux platform. So in the database server side, there is a service which we call as a listener service. There is a listener service. Listener. Can say listener. Listener. So there is a listener service is running on my database server side. This is the listener is a service which is running on client side or server side. Sorry, it's gone.
Server side.
Server side. So my paint is gone. I don't know how, why. I need to again. Oh, it's gone. Control Z. I did not get. Shit. It's gone. Okay. How? Why it's gone? I can get it to. Even control. Okay, let me try again. Okay. This is a application. Application server. Yes, application. Application server. Okay, so application server. This is the user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. Let me user 1.
Yes. User 2. User 3. User 3 connection. Trying to establish the connection. User 4. Can see? Yes, user 4. So these all are, they have to use any one of the client tool, that is SQL developer, SQL plus, or SQL developer or Toad. So by using any one of the client tool, they have to use and they can try to establish the connection. SQL plus SQL developer or Toad. Okay. Okay. So can say, let me, this is my database server. Inside this, okay, there is my database. This is my database. Okay. Inside this, there is a HRMS database is there. HRMS my database. Under what are the pluggable database? These are my pluggable database. Let me write here. HRMS PDB1. This is my first pluggable database. Yeah. So second pluggable database, HRMS PDB2. Okay. Like this, we can create a number of pluggable database. Okay. So in the database server side, okay. So what are the details required to configure the SQL developer? Host name, yes. Port, username, password, DBA, SID or service name. When you give these all the details, there is a button, connect button. When you click on connect button, these connections are hitting to database server side, because I am using same database host name, the same port numbers of the same database name HRMS. So the connections are coming. Yes, connections are coming. User 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. So these all connections are received by who received in my database server side? There is a listener process. There is a listener process. Listener is a one of the service which is running on database server side. Which is running on database server side. Listener always running on database server side. What it will do? It is listener which is listening incoming connections. It received the incoming connections. In Postgres, who received the connection? In Postgres, who received the connection?
Postmaster.
Yes. Postmaster. The same way here, who is the listener here? There is a listener separate background process is there, which is listening all the incoming connections. First received all the connections are received by listener background process. So this listener, once received this listener, it process this database server. Yes. In the database server, there is a server process is there. The server process, it takes care of other things. So this is how the connections are established. Who received the connections in the database server side? All the incoming connections received by listener process. Listener which is listening all the incoming connections on the default port number 1521. Once received the connections listener process, it pass the connection to database server. Database server, there is a server process. The server process will go for authentication. The username password having the access or not. The port is correct or not. The DB name is correct or not. Everything is verified by, there is a server process. If any username or password invalid, you get a error, invalid username password. Yes or no? That means there is a server process, it's verified. It's received the connection by listener process. After that, simply listener, once they receive the connection, it passes the database server. So who received, there is server process, it take care of all the things. The username, password in correct or not, the DB name correct or not, the port is correct or not. If anything is wrong, it throws error, invalid username, password or not, or no listener, or something. This is how the connections are established to Oracle database. So finally, there is a listener is one of the main background process which is listening all incoming connections and which is running on database server side. Suppose in my database server the listener is not running. Who received the connection? In case of listener is absent, in case of listener is not running, who received the connections? If listener is not running, are you able to establish the connection where
No,
remotely?
sir.
No.
No,
So
sir.
the mandatory, if the database services is running, then we have to verify the listener is running or not. Even though if database services are running, there is no listener is not running, there is no use. No one can connect remotely. That is the mandatory check. Whenever the database service are restarted, you have to verify the database service are running or not. Pman, grep Pman. The listener is running or not. If not running, you can start the listener services. How to start the listener services? What is the utility which we can use? There is a LSNR CTL. LSNR listener control. LSNR means listener, CTL means control. We can control the listener by using this utility LSNR CTL. LSNR CTL status. It gives the listener status. By default, listener is created with the listener name is listener only. What is the default name of listener? Listener only. The listener name is default listener name is listener. So when you want to stop and start with the default listener, no need to specify the listener name. When you give PSQL, PostgreSQL, is the mandatory to specify DB name, Postgres? No. Default connected to Postgres database. That is the default behavior. Here also, if the listener name is default name is listener, if it is a database running with default listener, no need to specify like this. LSNR CTL status listener. No need to specify listener name. Even though if you specify or if you not specify, default it consider listener name is listener. If you want to stop the listener, yes, LSNR CTL start listener. Even though if you not specify, yes, it takes the default listener name is. Clear? So how to stop the listener? How to stop the listener? Yes, there is a LSNR same CTL stop small LSNR CTL stop. So for this listener, there is a parameter file is there. Where is the location of this listener parameter file? Yes, cd $Oracle home
Network
$Oracle
admin.
home network admin. Inside this location, there is a parameter file is there. What is the parameter file? What was the parameter file listener?
Listener.ora.
LISTENAOR listener.ora file. By default, when you create the database, 19 say the listener file does not exist. You have to create the listener file. Then you have to start the listener. So this is the default location of listener file. The same location only we have to use. We have to create the listener file. If it does not exist, you can start the listener. So listener is a background process which is listening all the incoming connections with the default port number 1521. Listener is received all the connections. It passed the database server. Then server process, it take care of all the things. Means the username, password invalid, correct or not. The port is correct or not. Which user using the database correct or not. Which user entering in the SQL developer. If everything is good, it establishes the connection. It allow to establish the connection. If something goes wrong, port number is different, DB name is different, they use wrong details, it throws the error. That's how the connections are established to Oracle database. If the database is running, the listener also should be running. If there is no listener, there is no use of that database. No one can connect via remotely. That is about listener. We'll see in the next class. This is the default listener. I want to create my own listener. Yes, we can create own listener. If you create your own listener, listener one, for each and every time when you stop and start status, you have to specify the listener name. If it is a default listener name, no need to specify. You can see here, exit. How to check the listener status? LSNR CTL status. Yes, there is no listener. You can say listener is not running. When you get this error, no listener. It's saying clearly. Read all the lines. LSNR CTL for Linux version. You can say connecting to. It's trying to connect. No listener. Protocol adapter error. Connection refused. Means my listener not taking the request. It's not running. So how to start the listener? Let me check the path. Oracle home, network. Then Oracle home, network, admin. Yes, PWD. Oracle home, network, admin, LL. Yes, my listener file is there. So cat listener file. It contains database host name, port number. That is a listener file. It contains a database information. Where my database is running. What was the port my database using? This is the listener information. This is the listener name. If you want to change the listener name, yes, here you can change listener one. You can keep. But if you use a custom listener, your own listener, each and every time you have to use a listener name while starting and stopping. Now I want to start the listener. Listener CTL start. You can say started. Listener CTL start. The listener is started. Alias, you can say status of the listener. What is alias means? It's a listener name. Listener name is listener. What is the start date? Just now started listener. What is the uptime? My listener is running. Just now started. If it is running 2 hours, it's showing 2 hours. Okay. The listener log parameter file. This is the parameter file. Listener.vara location. Listener log file. There is a log file is there. We'll see next class. How if the connection is established in the log file, you can see what are the connections are established successfully. What are the connections are failed. Log.xml. This is the listener log file. For every process, there is a log file is there. So my listener supporting this is the service CRMS CRMS DB. So let's see verify MS PSman EF grep PMON. Yes, HRMS database. Okay, now let's see LSNR status. Can say my listener supporting these all the services. HRMS, CRMS, two databases are running. HRMS, XDB, that is the default service. Like this, if listener is running, then only you can connect the database remotely. That remote connection we can establish via SQL developer, via Toad or some other Linux box. There if you install Oracle binaries, then SQL plus -h host name like remote connections in PostgreSQL. Okay, so that's it today. We'll see next class more about listener and TNS names.vara file. Any queries, anyone? Let me know.
Yeah.